On this episode of Travelogue, we reach the last leg of our incredible journey. Join us as we enter Yunnan and head for the magnificent Meili Snow Mountains. We'll get our heads around the impressive first bend of the Jinsha River, pay a visit to one of the lowest glaciers in China, and enter timeless Yubong Village. All this on the final episode of this series. Hi, I'm Taran and welcome to Travelogue. We've traversed freezing mountain ranges, crossed alpine meadows and visited unspoilt Tibetan villages. And now that we're here in Yunnan, our final destination lies at the Meili mountain range, one of the 8 sacred mountains in Buddhism and also the site of one of the lowest glaciers in China. Let's get started. From Sichuan, we enter Yunnan's Shangri-La County via National Highway 214. Also known as Zhongdian, Shangri-La County lies in the Diqing Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture and is a tourist hotspot known throughout the world. From its welcoming climate to its lush mountain plateaus, resplendent lamasseries and colourful ethnic minorities, Yunnan offers travellers an unforgettable experience at each step of their journey. As we drive along the Jinsha River, we pass by a group of pilgrims prostrating on the road. While it'll take us just a couple of days, it can take up to 2 years for these devout Tibetan Buddhists to reach Lhasa. They consider this an act of reverence and a way to purify themselves of their worldly desires. For them, their own body is their vehicle. Leaving the pilgrims behind, we continue on down the road. And not long after, we arrive at a striking landmark. What an absolutely spectacular view! This down there, that is the first bend in the Jinsha River as it makes its way towards the Meili mountain range. And the wind's really strong, so I'm going to have to try my best to stay on this mountain. The Jinsha River is one of the most important rivers in China, and later goes on to form the mighty Yangtze. Here, its tumultuous waters make a dramatic U-turn and separates Yunnan from Sichuan. As tough as it may seem, people live on both sides of the river. And if you suddenly see a sack flying from one shore to the other, don't be alarmed. The locals here have developed an ingenious way of transporting supplies and even people across the river. If you're brave, curious, or just want to see your life flash before your eyes, why not give it a try as well? Unfortunately, the way by land isn't much better either. The road we're on is prone to landslides and is constantly under repair, and some parts of it haven't even been finished yet. As you can see, this road, if you can call it that, is filled with mud, and it's not even a proper road, and we've come into a bit of trouble here. We've been trying to push the car back, but to no avail, and we're now trying to jack it up and see if we can get this going again. When you're planning your trip, don't forget to factor in some additional time for what might happen on the road. When you're travelling this far out, road conditions can get very bad, so it is quite difficult to know what might happen. After 30 minutes of toing and froing, we finally managed to get off that godforsaken rock. And I've been told that that stretch of the road was the worst. So hopefully it's going to be clear sailing for the rest of the road. We're heading to Cizhong, an isolated Tibetan hamlet in the mountains. However, with this kind of traffic jam, we have no idea when we might arrive. So it's now 10:30. And we left for Cizhong around 3.5 hours ago. This entire road, the entire stretch, has been under construction, and now there's been a landslide in front of us, and there's this whole queue of cars waiting for it to be cleared. We've been told it's going to take 1 to 2 hours, and by the time we get there, it's going to be past midnight.
This time, however, it wasn't a matter of waiting. A fresh landslide had completely closed off the way to Cizhong. I still remember seeing stones falling from the cliff above that, at any moment, could have brought a bigger rock down and knocked us into the Jinsha River below. With nowhere to stay and the road to Zhongdian shut as well, we had no choice but to drive on through the night, heading back the way we came via Baima Mountain.
There were several places we wanted to see on our journey, but were unable to due to bad road conditions. It really is a shame because we wanted to visit Zhongdian, which is the capital city of the Dijing Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture, and unfortunately for us, the roads were closed. If you do manage to go, I highly suggest you visit the Songzangling Lamasery, which is also known as the Small Potala Palace, and is one of the largest lamaseries in Yunnan. Another place we really wanted to see was Cizhong. We were only 3 kilometers away from town when we happened across the site of a recent landslide which forced us to turn back. And it really is a shame because in Cizhong you can see this kind of beautiful harmony between Tibetan and Western culture. You can see a 100-year-old Catholic church standing side by side with piles of mani stones in this quaint little Tibetan village at the foot of the Meili mountain range. Unfortunately for us, it's very difficult to plan for what might happen on the road, and we haven't the time to wait for road conditions to clear. So we're going to head towards our final destination, which lies at the Meili mountain range. Let's get back on the road.
We're heading to the town of Deqin, which borders the Tibet Autonomous Region to the north and Burma to the west. After last night's ordeal, we let out a much-needed sigh of relief when we finally see Chortens by the roadside, signalling our impending arrival. Although Deqin lies in Yunnan, it's decidedly Tibetan and lies at over 3,500 meters above sea level. Deqin can be reached via daily buses from Zhongdian and also acts as a departure point for buses to Lhasa.
Shangri-La, a fabled utopia of mystical mountain valleys and a very real paradise on earth. Join Travelogue on a whirlwind adventure as we search for this lost land. Along the way, we'll encounter breathtaking scenery, fascinating cultures, and treacherous mountain paths. From the hardships we endure to the euphoria we enjoy, Travelogue takes you to some of the most spectacular parts of China. Join us on our fantastic 5-part adventure, Discovering Shangri-La.
Morning guys, morning. We came here late last night at around 10 p.m. after a very bumpy road, and we came straight to this hostel where the beds are around 30 RMB or so, but specifically to see this gorgeous sight in front of us. That is the Meili mountain range, and it's around 7:15 now, and we're just waiting for the first rays of golden sunshine to hit across this entire snowy range. It's going to be spectacular. Looking on as the peaks are slowly bathed in light, you feel as if you're witnessing something pure, something incredibly serene. And a sense of calmness gently washes over you and cleanses your mind. As you can see, we do have quite a spectacular view. The sun finally came out for us at around 7:40, and when you do come here, I would quite suggest you to stay at Feilai Si, which has quite a lot of hotels and hostels. But mind you, it is 3,900 meters above sea level, and as you can see, you've actually got over there, under the sun, the Mingyong Glacier, and this winding road through the valley, through the mountain, goes all the way to Yubeng, which we will head to next. A short ride from Deqin, there are plenty of guest houses in Feilai Si with great views of the range, but mine directly faced the 6,740-metre high Kawakapo, Meili's highest peak. The Meili Mountains are the only thing separating Yunnan from Tibet and are one of the most important mountains in Tibetan Buddhism.
Okay, so this is where we are. Let me find us. We're here, Feilai Si, and we're going to make our way up through this route all the way up to Xidang village, the village you saw at the bottom of the mountains, and then we're going to take, donkeys, mules or horses up all the way to Upper Yubong village, and Lower Yubong village is here as well. And right at the top are mountains and waterfalls, the scenery that we're going to try and reach.
It's around a 30-minute drive from Feilai Si to the entrance of the Meili mountain range, so it might be worth flagging down a taxi to take you there. Do remember to negotiate the price though.
So we've arrived at the Meili mountain range, and I've got the Langtang River flowing beneath me, which later becomes the Mekong, and we've arrived at a crossroads. As you can see, up there, to the right of us, we've got the Mingyong Glacier, and then to the left, you've got the Yubong village, which lies at the foot of the mountain range, which I highly, highly suggest you visit as well.
We're going to head to the Mingyong Glacier first, as it's just a 20-minute drive down the road.
As you can see over there, at the tip of that snowy mountain, that's where the Mingyong Glacier is, and you'll need roughly a day's worth of time to fully explore it.
Fed by the mountains above, the Mingyong Glacier is one of the lowest permanent glaciers in China, and unfortunately, one of the fastest receding. Although you can't set foot on it, it is possible to hike up to it. Alternatively, you can go up by mule, but it will set you back around 150 RMB. It's well worth visiting the Lotus Temple towards the end of the trail, as it offers a fantastic view of the ice sheet. Moving on, it's now time for something slightly less cold.
只能到这里了，汽车，前面你们就靠骑马和步行上去了。
好，师傅找了。哎，各位 our cars can only park here. We have to make up the rest of the way to Yubong by horse and by mule, and we're going to go and find our horses. Let's go.
我们的马在哪儿呢？
在这儿是吧？哪个是我们的？
Okay, so these two mules appear to be ours. I think they're having a bit of a rest because there's going to be about a 3-hour ride, 2-hour ride up and then a 1-hour walk as well. So it's going to be very, very grueling. But the weather is beautiful and I can't wait.
And we're off! Yubong is a tiny and isolated Tibetan village at the foot of the Meili Mountains, and in order to reach it, you must first scale over another mountain. I suggest bringing a sleeping bag and plenty of food and water, as the climb is pretty exhausting and it's difficult to get supplies in the village.
Our mules are a bit tired, so we've gotten off and are walking up this part of the road by ourselves, and as you can see it gets a bit steep here, so you better make sure that you watch your step when you're on your way up.
If you don't have to lug heavy equipment around like us, why not try to walk the way there? It's a different kind of feeling, and you'll get more time to enjoy the whole experience and admire your beautiful surroundings.
哎，你好，怎么样？可以坐吗？
可以的，没问题。
你们是走上来的还是骑上来的？
走上来，
哎呦，太累了吧？还走了多久了？
3、4个小时了吧
？3、4个小时。
对对对。
那我们已经一半了哈，所以应该还在上3个小时。
不知道多少，反正
下山就2个小时吧，现在上去应该还要1个小时吧，应该是。
啊。This climb is around 3-4 hours long, but luckily for us, there are lots of pit stops along the way, and I'm going to come here to have a bit of a breather. 你们都是一起的吗？哦，是导游哈，对对对。你们那个一直走上累不累啊？
刚开始有点累，上来到中间骑不会省。
哦，还好了呢。
Though it might look simple, having fried rice this high up in the mountains is an incredible luxury. Even the water here had to be carried up by someone.
Sometimes the best food that you can ever have, the best food you can ever hope for, is instant noodles, and at this moment it tastes so good. You don't know how good this tastes.
It's actually pretty tiring to go up by mule, and riding for several hours at a time can burn you out, especially since you don't stop to rest as often.
We've reached the peak of the mountain that we were climbing, and now I've got the prayer flag spotting all around me, and I can see clearly the peaks of the Meili Snow Mountain Range. This place is so nice.
I was elated to reach the top of our mountain, and I've no doubt that countless climbers have felt the same way as they looked on at Meili's impressive snowy range.
My wrangler just told me if you can see that kind of white speck up there, that's a frozen lake, and above it is a glacier, and it will take you around a day's worth to try and get there from Yubong village. That was also the site of the rather tragic Sino-Japanese expedition where 17 climbers lost their life trying to climb these sacred mountains above.
After 5 hours by mule, Yubong was a sight for sore eyes indeed. I can only imagine how Tibetan pilgrims might feel when they finally arrive here after several days of walking. Although still relatively unspoilt, Yubong has become a hotspot for backpackers, and there are now several guest houses to choose from, and you can find them in both Upper and Lower Yubong. Mind you, there are no restaurants here, so your only option is to dine at your guest house, which is actually a pretty good idea. With everyone gathered together giving the place a cheerful and lively atmosphere, you'll soon find yourself making friends with your neighbours.
So, where are you from?
So I'm from France.
Yeah.
Near Lyon.
Okay.
Southeast of France.
Okay, brilliant. How did you find out about this place?
Actually, it's my wife.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Just tell her that I wanted to go to the mountains.
Yeah.
In deep China, and so.
Ah, lovely. Newly married?
Yeah.
Ah, so this is your honeymoon?
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, brilliant, brilliant.
That night, everyone went to bed in high spirits, and after they'd all left, I found myself entranced by the night sky. Never in my life had I seen the stars with such clarity, and I sat outside for hours, watching the visible Milky Way. My wrangler told me that Kawakapo is the guardian deity of the Kagyu sect, and with Meili's peaks towering above the village, it really does feel like this place is being protected.
Morning, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. How do you feel about this place?
This is a home for us.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we can truly call this a home.
Oh, brilliant. You're from America, right?
Yes, we are.
How does this compare to the mountains and the glaciers in America?
Well, the glaciers and mountains in America and here, they're equally beautiful and majestic, but this place has a spirit, has a culture.
Okay.
And where the culture is, there's a spirit. This place has a lot of people singing, dancing, drinking. It's
a lot more like
it's a carnival, and it truly has a really lively spirit.
Cool.
We love it. We love it.
was an absolutely glorious day. It's still early in the morning, but the people behind me have come from afar to pay pilgrimage to the holy mountains here.
你们好，在这里，但是我可以跟你们坐吗？可以坐吗？可以坐。
Although Yubeng now also caters to tourists, its heart truly lies with its pilgrims. This family had come all the way from Basong in Tibet, and it had taken them 4 straight days of walking to get here. While we might see this as an unnecessary burden, they see it as a joyous event. And it's this reason why year after year, tens of thousands of Tibetans come here to do their Kora, their pilgrimage around these sacred mountains.
Morning everyone. As you can see, the weather's slightly changed from yesterday, and we're going to make our way today to the Shen Pool, which roughly translates to Sacred Waterfall. It's going to be about 6 hours for the round trip, and as you can see, I've got all my worldly possessions on me, and we're going to go and find some wranglers to take us up there.
好，来，我，这是我。 Yeah. So what we did just now is that no one wants to carry the heavy people, so we all draw a raffle ticket. That way it's fairer, and I've got number 5, and he's going to have to bear all of my weight. 好，咱们的马在哪？是吧？哪个？咱们的哈。
On the way up to the waterfall, you'll often find katas, which are ceremonial scarves, prayer beads and items of clothing hung on the trees. They've been left behind by pilgrims as offerings and can often be their most treasured possessions. It makes you realise just how important this path is for the people that come here. While this might just be a road leading up to a waterfall for us, for devout Tibetan Buddhists, this is the precious path they take on perhaps one of the most important and sacred journeys in their lifetime.
We're on the road to the Sacred Waterfall, but the scenery around us is breathtaking. If you look around, you've got this entire forest floor covered with moss, and then you've got this carpet of leaves underneath as well, and the rain has started to pour down, and this entire atmosphere is quite mythical, it's quite mystic as well.
Travelling through this primordial forest, your mind starts to wander, and you can't help but think that you might also be on some kind of spiritual journey.
Our mules are having a rest down there, so we're going to make up the rest of the way by foot. So if we just go through here, we should be at the Sacred Waterfall in no time.
With the Sacred Waterfall in sight, I start to think about why Tibetan Buddhists come on these Koras. It might take pilgrims anything from several days to months and even years to complete a Kora, and it's an undeniably tough journey filled with hardships. Even so, these Koras are often the life ambition of Tibetans, and many will sell everything they own to embark on them. For them, it's a spiritual journey filled with rewards, be it in this life or the next, and one they'll gladly repeat given the chance.
We finally arrived at the Shen Pool, the mystical waterfall, and though the sacred waterfall took us 3.5 hours to reach, 2 hours by mule and 1.5 by foot, these Tibetans behind me, they will actually circumnavigate this entire place 3 times, and it's not easy.
For the people here, this waterfall is symbolic of their unwavering spiritual belief. Since birth, this firm belief has been instilled in them, and every member of the family, from young to old, knows that they must come on this journey. I was deeply moved by this family, and listening to their powerfully emotional songs, you realise that this is perhaps the happiest moment in their life. For them, they've reached the end of their pilgrimage and arrived at their most important destination, their Shangri-La.
Here ends our journey for this series. We've travelled far and wide and searched for so many different places for what we could call Shangri-La. At each and every step of the way, we've met devout Tibetan Buddhists making their pilgrimage. And I've come to realise through watching them and listening to their hauntingly beautiful songs of prayer that it's a kind of spiritual Shangri-La that we're looking for, and something that each and every one of us should look for as well. I'm Taran, and we'll see you on the next episode of Travelogue.